Hi. It's and I play in SCA region. This is my first non-montage video for this channel, and it's all about how I reached Masters with 175 matches as a solo queue enchanter main support, and with those matches, I would say 80% of it was all Soraka. Soraka is an enchanter support that outshines all of the other enchanters because of her healing. However, the anti-heal items, such as Mortal Reminder, have made her impact in the game less relevant. Moreover, the higher you climb, the more you would be encountering enemies who would rush Executioner's Calling and Oblivious Orb as early as they could to counter Soraka's landing phase. However, these pre-items do not heavily affect Soraka's healing capability until they are upgraded into full item. Generally, the final item for anti-healing will be finished by your enemies during mid to late game. Rod of Ages and Warmog's Armor were my most favorite core items for Soraka back in Season 5, and here's why. 1. The turret plating in Season 5 applied to all 9 turrets. Hence, it's easier for me to earn money much quicker. Also, in Season 5, the turret plating is available throughout the game. 2. The Dragon and Rift Herald objectives were not given much importance, although they are still helpful in the game. In other words, most junglers back then would just take dragons and leave Rift Herald behind. 3. The items were much cheaper. Because of these advantages, Season 5 provides a safer environment for both teams to reach late game and help the players to finish their full builds. However, with Season 6, there are a lot of changes happened. 1. Items are a bit expensive. 2. Elemental Drakes are now introduced, and 3. The turret platings are only available in the outer turrets for a specific amount of time. Therefore, junglers are also now giving importance in taking Rift Herald to secure both first turret objective and turret platings. Given these new conditions in the game, early teamfights are more prevalent than before, at least based on my experiences in reaching Masters in Season 6. These early teamfights would often occur to contest for Dragon and Rift Herald. And if your team managed to get these two objectives, your team will now have an upper hand to dominate the game. If your team managed to get RH, it is likely for your team to get the first turret objective and get additional money. If your team managed to get elemental dragons, especially infernal dragons, your team gets additional buffs throughout the game and also money. In other words, although getting those objectives does not completely guarantee a winning game because it could still change throughout the game. Getting those objectives already gives either more upper advantage to your team or helps your team to alleviate from their losing lanes. Since you want to win teamfights as early as possible, going for the scaling build will not make sense, and this is what I had been experiencing with scaling Soraka in Season 6. Yes, it gives strong unlimited heals in the late game, but there is no point for me to wait and spend a lot of money if the enemy team is already done building their anti-heal items, such as Mortal Reminder. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you build for Soraka, anti-heal will always counter her. Hence, I realized that instead of waiting for the late game to be a powerful healer, why not just provide heal spikes as early as possible in the game and help my team survive early teamfights to get those crucial objectives. After all, none of the enemy team would rush Mortal Reminder in the early game. So, I've been going for a different build for her and surprisingly, my win rate with Soraka increased and I even managed to get into Masters with this build. The most relevant item of this build is Athene's Unholy Grail. The passive of this item amplifies your healing by 110 to 250 HP. In the game, you are most likely able to get Athene's Unholy Grail before 5 minutes, which is the spawn time of both the DR and RH. However, in order for you to get those bonus healing, you need to deal damage to your enemies with your first and third abilities, which is not a problem for Soraka. This item can help your team regenerate from 50% HP back to 100% HP with just one heal. This item is very crucial in the contest for DR and RH during the early game. Another good thing about Athene's Unholy Grail is its consistency of its relevance throughout the game. From early to late game, Athene's Unholy Grail provides heal spikes to your allies. Let's put this in an actual scenario. Athene's costs 2.5k gold if you bought either Amplifying Tome or Null Magic Mantle, and you can already buy that around 4 or 5 minutes of the game. DR and RH spawn time is at 5 minutes. With Athene's Unholy Grail, you already have your power spike for the early teamfights, which will help your team survive longer. The passive of Athene's is limited by its level. It means although it can stack up to 250 HP at level 5, its maximum stack is at 150, and it increases by 10 each level. Athene's also provide 55 ability power. At level 5, your second skill with 2 points level, together with the AP from Athene's, now provides 169 heal. 150 plus 169 gives you 319 healing. All that healing for 2.5k gold. With this being said, you also have to properly manage the passive of Athene's for its optimum use. The next item would be Protector's Vow. It provides a shield and a short burst of movement speed to both you and your ally. The movement speed provides an opportunity for you to reposition if you are getting targeted. It also provides the needed HP bonus in order for the passive of Warmog's armor to work. Just make sure not to waste its passive from the monster attacks. This item is also more effective when you use the summoner spell, Heal, with Inspiration Rune, Nimbus Cloak. The third core item is Archangel's Staff. However, after either building my enchantment or Protector's Vow, I only buy Sapphire Crystal or Tears of Goddess. After that I would buy the first situational item of the build. Subsequently, I would then finish Archangel's Staff. As you can see here, there are 6 situational item options for my Soraka build in Season 6. 1. Ardent Censer. 2. Staff of Flowing Waters. 3. Warmog's Armor. 4. Rabadon's Deathcap. 5. Banshee's Veil. Most of the time, I would go for heal-focused build, where I would buy Warmog's Armor and Rabadon's Deathcap. After buying Warmog's Armor, I would then proceed to finishing Archangel's Staff. Rabadon's Deathcap will be the last one. However, I would go for buff-focused build if and only if my allies still need a little buff on their stats to deal damages. If the major damage source of your team comes from ability-based champions, such as Ahri, Pantheon, Olaf, and such, then I would go for Staff of Flowing Waters. On the other hand, if most of my team damage is from on-hit champions, such as Master Yi, Vayne, and such, then I would go for Ardent Censer. Either of the two, the second situational item would be Harmonic Echo. I don't really view Harmonic Echo as something that would amplify my healing. I highly value Harmonic Echo as an item that would activate the passive of Ardent Censer and Staff of Flowing Waters to the other two allies. However, if you think that going for Ardent Censer and Staff of Flowing Waters will be better in one build, then you can freely do it. For boots, I'd go for Ionian Boots of Lucidity because it provides ability haste for your summoner spells, abilities, and even active items. Choose your enchantments depending on the current situation of your game. There are 4 enchantments for Soraka. The 2 enchants focus more on helping your teammates more while the remaining 2 prioritizes your own survivability. Team Sustain and Utility Enchantments. 1. Locket Enchant should be the choice if you are VSANG against Burst and AoE champions. The reason why I highly suggest taking Locket Enchant because Burst champions rely on their combos to deal maximum damage, and once they use all of their abilities for their combos, they have nothing else to use. If your carries are able to survive their deadly combos, they will have the time opportunity to kill them. Most Burst champions are assassins, such as Kha'Zix. An example of AoE champions is Malphite. There are champions that are also the combination of both Burst and AoE, such as Katarina, Diana, and even AP Malphite. 2. Redeeming Enchant is useful against heavy DPS and sustaining enemies and beneficial with mostly sustaining allies. There are scenarios when you are VSANG against a marksman top laner, which usually gives a total of 2 enemy marksmen. The use of Locket Enchant would be more likely useless since this class of champion relies on their basic attacks, providing DPS. With this being said, regenerating the HP of your allies will be more ideal for a bit longer sustain in team fights. Another scenario to use Redeeming Enchant is when the enemy team is mostly composed of tank champions, such as Dr. Mundo, Rammus, and many more. It is because Redeeming Enchant will also give time for your allies to kill them for a bit longer. The right time of activating Redeeming Enchant can significantly change the outcome of the team fight, so trust your support instincts. Survivability Enchantments. 1. Stasis. I would buy this against dive-in enemy champions, such as Zed, Olaf, Shyvana, Camille, Master Yi, and etc. I would only consider this item if I am always getting targeted by them. 2. Quicksilver. Quicksilver is useful if a CC is what all it takes for Soraka to die. I may also consider this if the enemy team is heavy CC and I'm not building Banshee's Veil as one of my situational items. In most of my games, I go for either Redeeming and Locket Enchantments. The reason why I do not usually go for the defensive items enchantments is because I really have to play safe, and take Nimbus Cloak for my Inspiration Rune and Nullifying Orb for my Resolve Rune.
Although I said that Warmog's Armor was once my favorite core item for Soraka, I still treat it as a situational item. It's just that instead of building it as my second core item, I now build it as the 4th item. The main role of Warmog's Armor is for unlimited healing, which is a lot more useful in the late game. Why? It's because during late game, huge teamfights will be happening. And usually, after teamfights, the team would rush to go for Baron and Elder Drake. If the team fight ended with the enemy team being able to escape the fight while leaving us with low HP, my unli healing would keep my allies alive without recalling. With this, my team could still bomb the enemy team with map control through lane pressure. While going for Warmog's armor calls me to just build Rod of Ages since it provides HP, mana and AP, I'd rather sacrifice it to save a spot for my Protector's Vow due to Soraka's vulnerability. Bottom line, you can't have everything in the game. Some players would buy Ardent Censer followed by Warmog's, but, again, I have a different take on Soraka's power in the current meta. Hence, I build Protector's Vow for survivability because Soraka cannot help her allies if she's dead. Furthermore, in general, enchanters thrive in long teamfights, hence, the Protector's Vow item choice. If you still want to use a scaling build because you don't see any problems at all, then go for it. You do you. After all, different builds work for different players with different playstyles in different regions. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want more content like this. I will be making a shorter guide for my rune system, skill distribution, and summoner spell as the second part of this guide. Thank you so much for watching this video.